Hey Fae folk, welcome and welcome back to another Disney doll ranking. Today we're going to be taking a look at and ranking all of the Belle Disney Limited Edition dolls. So I am pretty excited for this one. While I wouldn't currently classify Belle as one of my favorite Disney princesses, I did absolutely adore her as a child. My parents have told me on numerous occasions about how I used to just watch The Beauty and the Beast on repeat, just over and over and over again, which I did with so many movies, but apparently that was my favorite for a while. I know I really liked her because I too share love of reading. So like having a princess that loved to read really like was something that I connected to. So we're continuing the trend with this series thus far of me talking about princesses that I do really enjoy, but of course that doesn't always mean that I enjoy their outfits. So we'll see how this goes. A couple of quick things. I did freshly dye my hair, so if pieces of me are discolored, sorry. Also, it is trash day here, and they never have a consistent schedule, so I never am able to like film around a time when they're not collecting trash like reliably. I just heard the truck go by, so hopefully it'll be okay. But if you guys do hear any like clanking or anything in the background, I'm sorry. I'll try to fix it as best I can, but like I can't really control the trash truck, right? But yeah, we're going to be ranking the Belle Disney Limited Edition dolls today. As with all of my rankings, and honestly just all of my videos in general, this is just going to be my opinion. You're absolutely free to disagree. Just if you do, please do be polite about it and sound off in the comments down below. But without further ado, let's get into taking a look at these Belle dolls. Alrighty, so as with all of my rankings, we are going to be using Procreate, and as with the previous two Disney Princess rankings I've done, same tiers, so top to bottom, we have perfect, good, okay, I feel nothing, no thanks, and put it back. We are starting off with the 2010 Belle Limited Edition doll. This is a lot. This is a lot happening. It wasn't that long ago that I prepared for this video. I shouldn't be this surprised, but like that took me aback. I guess right off the bat, we'll get into a complaint that I have with almost every Belle doll that I've ever seen, which is that when they are attempting to be more movie accurate, when they are attempting to do her like iconic golden ball gown, I just do not feel like it translates well on doll form almost ever. Is that kind of an ominous thing to say at the beginning of a ranking? Maybe. But I genuinely do feel like it's kind of rough. The animation, I don't feel like has this amount of ruffles. I feel like the dresses that they tend to give Belle dolls have an excessive amount of ruffles. And it's not that I'm opposed to that. I just like, first of all, don't think that it's necessarily movie accurate unless I'm just remembering really poorly. But I don't feel like it was that many ruffles, you know what I'm saying? Like there were some, but I don't think it was that many. But more so, I think that it doesn't work on a doll scale. When you have this amount of like roughly layers and stuff on a human body, because of the scale, the fabric kind of weighs down, so it gives a nicer draping effect. Whereas on a doll, because it's on a smaller scale, there's not so much fabric being used, and so there's not so much weight of like the fabric pulling itself down. So instead of getting draping, you kind of just get this awkward like poofy effect instead. And I feel like so many Belle dolls really suffer for that. So we're going to be seeing that a few times here. This one's rough actually. I also really dislike, I know in the movie there is like that kind of midsection on her skirt where it's like a different color and it's like draping and everything, but again, this is not draping because that's not how this fabric behaves at this scale. And I feel like instead of adjusting for the scale and like changing the design so that it fits a doll better, they just kind of let it be poofy and awkward. I don't like that. I do think the materials used could have been used in an effective way if it was designed a little bit differently. I think that the top, it's a little bit too much. I honestly think that I wouldn't mind these kind of rosettes at the top if we didn't also have all of the like beaded detail, and then vice versa. I feel like if we had the beaded detail but not the rosettes, that could have been really pretty. But altogether, I do think it's a bit too much. I like the hair for her. I think that this is a well executed like version of her hair. It's a little bit long, it's curly, it's cute. She's got like a poof at the front. I like that. I think her face is fine, but the dress is just genuinely, oh gosh, I can't say I feel nothing because I feel things. So I'm like, is it bad enough for me to put it in no thanks? I don't think so. I think I'm gonna put her in okay because while I don't like it, I do appreciate certain elements and I like appreciate the effort that was put in there. It doesn't make me feel horrible, so I feel like I can't put it too low. Next up, we have a Winter Belle doll, and I love this. She's on screen in this outfit, at least. I don't know if she wears it at all in like DVD specials or anything like that. But in, the main movie, Beauty and the Beast, she only wears this for like 30 seconds. But I love it. I think this is such a beautiful outfit on Belle. And I think they did a really, really great job with this one of kind of amplifying it and making it look fancy enough to justify being a collector doll. The cloak looks really, really luxurious. I love that we have just a hint of embroidery up here, kind of at the top. The ties being super long and like having tassels at the bottom down here, I'm actually a huge fan of. I adore the print that they chose for the main body of this dress with the roses in there. I feel like it's a little bit more subtle because it is like a print on the dress. So while it's visible, it's also kind of like visual noise that your brain might tune out, and then you kind of really look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, those are the roses, which is obviously very referential for Beauty and the Beast. I think that was a really, really excellent fabric choice. And then also just the embroidery, the lace detailing on the sleeves here. I think this is really excellent. This really, to me, is so close to movie accurate, but also so elevated from that. Her face looks beautiful too. Her hair looks nice and shiny. This is a great doll, and she's going right into perfect. Next up is a set that came with a Beast doll, but as with my previous videos, we're not looking at him. I cropped him out. I will say I think that they executed the volume of the dress a little bit better in this one rather than this one. And honestly, a lot of that is the silhouette for me. We're taking a second to go back and kind of rag on this one. The silhouette of this dress is this, which isn't a bad silhouette. I'm not saying that it's bad, but in the movie, her silhouette is much closer to this, where it's got a lot more poof to it. And also, I'm just a sucker for a big fat ball gown. So, of course, I'm going to like this one more. I still think this middle section is just a little bit awkward. I don't feel like that's necessary, but I do like how they executed the main body of the skirt better. Even though we do still have that poofing, it just feels a lot less dramatic here. And the big thing for me is I love the bodice. I think this is so much better, so much preferable. There's a little bit of embroidery on there, but it's not overwhelming to me. There's like some detailing kind of where it goes across her shoulders, but it's not so much. I will say I actually like the hair a little bit less. I think this might be slightly more movie accurate. I don't know. I just was partial to the kind of like floofiness of that first one we looked at. But overall, I do think this is an improvement as far as like her gold dress looks go. So I will be putting this one into good because I still have my complaints about the skirt, but I feel like it's pretty solid. Okay, this one is the 30th anniversary Belle doll, and I am not really a fan of this one. I feel like because of the colors, they're trying to sort of reference her like first outfit, like I don't know what you would call that, but her like town outfit before she dresses all fancy and everything. Or did she wear this at all in the movie? Am I crazy? It's been a long, long, long time since I've seen The Beauty and the Beast. So maybe I'm wrong, but overall I just really am not in love with it. I feel like the way the flowers have been executed on the bottom here, it does just look a tad bit cheap to me. I do like the blue panels. I like the like embroidery along here, but I feel like the shape is kind of awkward. Like the entire skirt, just the way that it's gathered here and then here, and like this feels uneven. I don't know. It looks almost like it was sewn improperly because it doesn't look intentional like that. It does just look, I mean, this is like a pretty damn straight on image, right? Like this is pretty straight on, but you can see that the center of her like bodice piece and the center of her skirt don't actually line up. And then this skirt, you can see so much more on this side, whereas this skirt kind of like disappears to the back over there. It doesn't look right to me. And, to be fair, I know that could just be this image, but that is what I'm judging off of. That's what I have. So, like, not a huge fan there. I don't like this pink bow situation in the middle. Her hair and her face are really lovely, and I think her jewelry is pretty. And because I do like the blue fabric, I think those three things are saving her from being bottomed here. But this one is very rough to me, and it's going in no thanks. Okay, next up we have the designer collection. Oh, okay. So I'm just gonna zoom here real quick and just look at the dress. If it were just this dress, I genuinely think I might be persuaded to put this doll in perfect, because while I'm not 100% sold on the rhinestoning on the bodice, I do think it's like, if you watched my Rapunzel one that I just did last week, I critiqued the doll from this line for the same reason, where I feel like the rhinestones just look a little bit awkwardly placed, but I do think it's better than the Rapunzel doll. I like the fact that there's rhinestoning too on her gloves to kind of tie in. And I actually really love the way that they've executed this skirt. It is obviously not actually movie accurate, but I feel like it gives a similar volume to it. It has like a nice, fun yellow color to it. It has like these sections here where the way that the ruffles are like organized, they kind of give roses like here and here. And I really like that because it's subtle and it kind of blends in to the rest of just this overall poof effect. But also, again, it ties in with the roses. It feels thematic. It feels really fun. I think that's a very well designed skirt. I also think that due to the like scale issues that I talked about earlier, this sort of skirt sometimes looks better to me than like a more movie accurate one. So honestly, the dress, this is solid. Why the fuck did you give her a beehive hairdo? Like, I'm so sorry. And like, again, you know, you're allowed to like this, but to me, this is ugly. This is so bad. I also don't like her earrings. I feel like those look kind of awkward. But the hair killed this doll, like absolutely murdered this doll. As I said before, I could have been persuaded to put this in perfect based off of the dress if it had had a good head to it. As it is, the hair is just so genuinely terrible to me. It doesn't feel like Belle. It doesn't fit Belle to me. At no point in the movie does she ever have her hair on top of her head. The closest she gets is a low ponytail. Like she is a mostly loose hair girly. Absolutely despise that. So it's going in no thanks because the dress is saving it from bottom tier, but like that's how much I can't stand the hair, is that we had a doll that fell from potentially perfect to no thanks. This one is the Fairy Tale Design Collection. Again, one with a beast doll. However, couldn't really crop them out because they're like right there. So we're just going to pretend he's not there. This one I think is pretty rough. I'm sorry. But again, talking about the silhouettes, the silhouette we want is the big fat ball gown silhouette, right? But this, that's bad, especially because of the way that they've done the top half of this dress. It like does this awkward like two-tiered effect that I really don't like. I still think that the way this whole fabric section was executed doesn't work on the scale. The fabric is not weighing down, it is not draping, it is not looking pretty, it is looking like a deflated puffer coat. It's really bad to me. I'm so sorry. I just, the silhouette is what really gets me here. That's just, it's nothing close to what I want to see from Belle. It's nothing close to what I feel like Belle actually has. It's so bad. Um, I'm like distracted by how bad it is. I'm having a hard time forming sentences. I do like this fabric that they've used for the bottom of her skirt and her bodice. I think that's really pretty. I like all of the detail on there. But God, the overall silhouette, like I have seen this silhouette on like regular Disney Store Belle dolls, and I didn't like it there, and I certainly don't like it on a limited edition doll. So again, we have to go down into no thanks, and I'm starting to feel a little bad, but like, what can I do, you know? Here we have a set with Gaston. So again, couldn't really crop him out. We're just going to pretend he's not there. Also, this was the best image that I could find. I know you can't really see her face, so I'm sorry. But like, I felt like this one showcased the dress very well. And this one I do think is quite pretty. She's got the big fat bow in her hair, which I do love. This is much more reminiscent of her kind of town dress. I love her wicker basket. That's a really nice little detail to add as an accessory for her. And I really do genuinely kind of love this. I like the fabric that they used for the blue portions, specifically the print. I just think that it is a really nice print. All of the florals. I do like me a good floral sometimes, so I feel like it elevates the look, but I don't know, it doesn't feel too busy. We've got a little bit of embroidery up top. I like the sleeves that she's got going on. What I don't like is that the way that the panels lay, like these side and like I'm assuming it goes around the back. The reason that I don't love that is because you can see here that it is like two layers of fabric. So here, that's a bad color for me to be using just right now. Here's the seam line. So on the front, you have the florals, and then on the back, it is just like a plain fabric. That's fine, but it does mean that it's like a double layer of fabric. And for me personally, while like you could make the argument that that is a better quality, I do think that it makes these pieces look a little bit poofy on the side, and like it kind of makes them feel like they're laying on top of the other skirt, which like I know they are, but it just makes it feel a little bit too separated for me, a little bit disjointed, and I'm not huge fan of that effect. It's minor. I'm nitpicking. She's still going to go into good. Next up, we have the live action Belle doll, like the main live action Belle doll. And this one is quite infamous, I would say, for being the poster child doll for live action faces being bad. Okay, let's just get it out of the way. I know that at some angles this doll does look better. At a lot of angles, she doesn't look great. And I do think it's sad because Emma Watson is quite a pretty lady. I don't think that this really looks like her, and I don't think that it looks great on the doll. So there's that. That being said, I feel like when this movie came out, like a lot of people didn't love the dress. I don't think it was terrible. Like I really don't think it was the worst. I'm not a huge fan of like the top portion, but I do think that the squirt I think the skirt is quite pretty. It's definitely not like the animated version in terms of like the structure. It does have a similar silhouette, but like I get it that it doesn't have the ruffles and everything. However, I do think this translates better to a doll form, just because it's not the ruffles. So like the like sort of draped layers, I just feel like work so much better on a doll scale. I just think they look better. But liking the skirt can't really save this doll. I think it saves it from bottom tier. But she's still going in no thanks because overall that was just a rough release. And then we have a second live action doll, came with the prince, cropped him out. This one I don't like, point blank period. That was the whole sentence. Still an awkward face. Like you can see here, I'm assuming this was the same sculpt. Different angle, still doesn't look great. The hair is fine. I just don't like this dress though. Like if we're being 100%, it's been a hot minute also since I have watched the live action version of Beauty and the Beast. I'm assuming this is from the movie. I don't remember it though, so it obviously didn't stand out in my mind. I think the shoes look kind of awkward. This one's a bottom tier for me. There's nothing about it that I like. That's not to say that everyone will hate it or that it is like the worst quality. I just don't think it's pretty. Next up, we have the Premiere Collection Belle. And oh gosh, I don't know how to feel about this one. Because there are elements that I really like, and then elements that I'm like a little bit unsure of. I like the way that they've done her hair. I don't know, like I just like volume and hair. What can I say? I think that like nice, fun, poofy hair is exciting. I like the silhouette of the dress overall. I feel like it's got a lot of different panels, and it's like sleek but poofy at the same time. It's very interesting. I do really appreciate that. The bag is nice with like this proper chain and like the metallic rose and everything. I like how they've done this sort of flower at her hip. I do think that that's quite pretty. The print is what I'm not 100% sold on. Because in theory, I do think it's cool. There's obviously these sections here that look like they might be really tiny rhinestones, or it could just be embroidery thread of like a more detailed flower. And then you have like the red and then the pink. And then there's also like little yellow things in the background. So it has depth to it. It has dimension to it, which I do think is a nice feature. The roses, though, I think are so indistinct that they kind of look like lipstick kisses or like lipstick stains. Like really smeared ones, obviously, not like proper. But like this one especially, I feel like you can kind of see like a top lip and then like a bottom lip and then like, oh gosh, I smudged it. Like, I don't know. It's just something about it is a little bit iffy to me. But that being said, there's still a lot that I like. I think I'm going to put her in okay. I feel like that's a fair ranking. Okay, two more. Starting off with the Midnight Masquerade Belle, who is clearly quite different from anything we've seen before. And I don't know if this will surprise you guys, but I actually really like it. I think this is really fun. Black is not a color that I really associate with Belle, so it's like a fun surprise, but I honestly think it works. I think the contrast of the black and the gold is really beautiful. That black really just makes the gold pop. Like it pops, and I really like that. I like the way that they've used the different layers here. Her dress being a giant rose on this side is absolutely iconic. I feel like the fabric manipulation there is really beautiful, very well done. The hint of embroidery on this little part is like a nice balance because obviously you have a lot going on the other side. And I feel like that's just a nice little touch there. I adore. I love the black on black roses on the like under panel of the skirt, where it's, I mean, black on black is just what I'm saying. It's like realistically a very dark gray with black on top, but I feel like that's so nice because it's subtle. It doesn't take away from the obviously main focus of the dress, but it's so pretty all the same. The top of the dress being more plain, I think, was a really good choice because there's a lot happening on the skirt. Sometimes I don't like that, but I feel like this really lets the skirt shine and be the main moment. Her mask and everything is there. I like that we have the one sleeve that matches the fabric on the bottom, like on the skirt, and then one sleeve that is a much more metallic gold to kind of tie in the mask. I feel like it just brings the look together a little bit more, because otherwise I do think that the mask would stand out, because this is a very different gold than this, right? Like they're not the same gold. And so I feel like if there wasn't this side piece, and then also the embroidery here is also that lighter gold, I feel like that helps tie in the mask very well, instead of having it be this piece that's just like, oh, that doesn't quite match. I feel like her face looks really pretty. Her hair looks really good. This one is solid. It's not what I would expect from a Belle doll, but I honestly appreciate that. And it's going to go into perfect, which I feel like might be surprising to some people, but here we go. And then lastly is the Belle from the Ultimate Princess Celebration line. I did do a video once they'd all come out on my thoughts on the entire line, so I'll link that in the cards if you want to hear about all the dolls in one video, but we're still going to talk about specifically Belle here. I think this was almost excellent. So close. So close to being truly incredible. I feel like the bag, the specific shape that they chose, first off, it looks like it has a real chain, which we love to see. The geometric little bits on it, I'm trying to like highlight them so you can see, are giving a little bit of stained glass, which is a like reasonably popular imagery within the movie, which is really excellent to see. But also because it's square, it kind of reminds me of a book, which obviously Belle loves to read. So I really, really like that. I think that her makeup is darker than she usually gets. It's dramatic. It's fun. I do like that. I have nothing against it. The dress. Obviously, this is the big thing. I love the concept. I think the rose, like the proper rose with like the petals, like the very detailed petals at her hips, is so cool. The sheer paneling that drops down from that to be more rose petals at the bottom, it's obviously extremely reminiscent and extremely inspired by the case that the rose is held in within the movie. And I think that is genius. I think it's amazing and beautiful and wonderful, but the dress underneath absolutely kills it for me. I feel like, I don't know if it's because of the coloring or because of the print or if it's both, but I feel like the over section of the dress, like the bigger section of the dress, should have been allowed to really shine and needed to be the main focal point of the dress. And like it clearly still is. I don't hate the bodice as much, although I do think that it just looks a little bit awkward. But this section here, where it's kind of this underskirt, like underneath the part that I like, I feel like because the colors are similar, like they're still reds, it doesn't really have any contrast with the good part of the dress. And then also because there is the embroidered rose detailing on that front panel, I just feel like it takes away from the illusion. I don't think that it really works. I think probably this would have been best if it was all maybe like an extremely dark red, like maybe if they'd gone even darker than this sort of winey color that they use, if they had been like an almost black red, that could have been really pretty. Or if you wanted it to be a lot, like if you wanted to have a lot of design in there, maybe playing into the stained glass element instead might have been interesting, because it's like the rose encompassing the story. I don't know. I feel like there could have been anything else done in this middle section and it would have looked genuinely phenomenal, because I think the concept for this dress is one of the best concepts that I've seen looking at the Disney limited edition dolls so far. I think it is so cool, but I just think it got ruined by what was put underneath it, which is really sad, but like here we are. So I think I'm going to put her into okay. And that is the final ranking, which very spread out. I felt feelings about every single doll, so there's that. I think it's interesting because I feel like with the Ariel ranking and then the Rapunzel ranking, those are two dolls that I do really, or not dolls, those are two characters that I really do love and enjoy. And they had reasonably favorable rankings to like pretty darn favorable rankings. I really like Belle, but I do feel like her design is just one that when they're trying to be movie accurate, they have a really, really hard time translating that from the movie, from the animation to a doll form in a good way. I feel like it's just for some reason very, very difficult for the designers to do with, I guess, the fabrics at their disposal or whatever might be the case. Yeah, I feel like Belle has potential, but I feel like she's for some reason harder to nail down. When they do her well, they do her pretty well, but it's a little bit rarer in her case, at least in my opinion. But yes, guys, those are all my thoughts on the Disney Limited Edition Belle dolls. I am really having fun with this series. I don't know if it's because I'm talking about something that I don't talk about as much on the channel, because like Disney doesn't really make frequent appearances on the channel anymore for me, or if it's just because even though I'm ranking far fewer dolls than in a lot of my ranking videos, because they're so detailed and intricate and also have like a very concrete point of reference, which is whatever movie we're taking a look at. Like, I feel like there's so much to discuss and so much to say about each doll. And it's just really, it's been a very fun experience for me. So I'm very excited to continue onward. The next doll that I plan on doing, or the next character that I plan on doing, is Snow White. So be on the lookout for that one. But as I said in the beginning, I definitely want to hear your thoughts and opinions on both my ranking and then also the dolls that we discussed today. And especially just like, about Belle's yellow dress. Like, I obviously have very strong opinions about it and how it translates to doll form, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say. So definitely please do sound out in the comments down below. But I hope you were able to enjoy today's video. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night or whatever it might be, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.